Hey students, this is the homework solutions from last night. My suggestion is check your work. If you are the sub, please allow students to check their work for about 2 minutes here on last night's homework assignment. All right, today's lesson title is called X and Y intercepts. Basically, just a reminder that ordered pairs consist of an X and a Y coordinate. The y-intercept of a graph is the y-coordinate of the point where the graph intersects the y-axis. So when that happens, 0, this x is a 0, and then wherever it crosses the y-axis is going to be the number for y here. And then the x-intercept of a graph is the x-coordinate of the point where the graph intersects the x-axis. So at that point, y will be 0, and the x will be some number wherever the line crosses the x-axis. Let's take a look at an example of this after you get a chance to write this down. Sub, please give the students a moment to copy all this down. Okay, so here's an example of what we were talking about for x and y intercept. So what we have here is we have this line right here, okay? And you'll see that it connects the x at the y-axis right here, and down here it connects at the x-axis. So where it connects at the y-intercept, you will see the x 0 right there, all right? And where you see the line crossing the x-axis, you will see that y is actually 0 right there. So that's what an x-intercept is and a y-intercept is. So what we are going to do is we're going to take a look at finding x and y intercepts in standard form equations. So here is a standard form equation. Sub, if you could give them a minute to write this down, that'd be great. Thank you. For those of you wondering, that is my dog barking at a gnat or a fly in the backyard. All right, now that you've had a chance to write this down, we're going to basically create an input-output table here where x is going to be your input and y will be the output. Now, initially, we know that the y-intercept is where x is going to equal 0. So what we're going to do here is we're just going to sub in 0 for x and then solve this equation for y. So we know that 3 times 0 is 0. So basically that means that there's nothing there with negative 2y. So now we're going to divide by negative 2 on both sides. And what we'll find is that y is negative 3. 6 divided by negative 2 is negative 3. And then we also know that the x-intercept is wherever y is equal to 0. All right, and so basically to solve now for this, we would say 3x minus 2 times 0, so we're going to substitute 0 for y, is equal to 6. Well, again, negative 2 times 0 is nothing. So basically I'm left with 3x equals 6. And so now if I divide both sides by 3, 6 divided by 3 is 2. Now we can actually see that this is the y-intercept. And we can see that this down here is the x-intercept. Again, the y-intercept is when x is 0, and the x-intercept is when y is 0. Sub, if you could give them a minute to go ahead and copy this down, that would be great. All right, and so basically we're just going to continue this process to find x and y intercepts. So we're going to have a table of values, very simple. The first time we're going to try to find the y-intercept by setting x equal to 0. So we're going to plug the 0 into my equation here. Negative 5 times 0 plus 6y equals 60. And again, negative 5 times 0 is nothing, so I've got 6y equals 60, so I'm going to divide by 6 to solve for y on both sides. And so when x is 0, y is 10. And now I'm going to try to do the same thing, but now I'm going to make this the x-intercept and set y equal to 0. And so I'm going to plug 0 in for wherever there's a y. So that means I'm going to do 6 times 0 equals 60. And then I know 6 times 0 is nothing, so what I'm left with is negative 5x equals 60. I'm going to divide both sides by negative 5. And I know that 60 divided by negative 5 is a negative 12. Now, what you're going to notice here for the x and the y intercepts is that this actually creates an ordered pair. So this ordered pair would be at 0 and 10, and this ordered pair would be at negative 12 and 0. And again, what this allows us to do is this is going to allow us to draw 2 points on a line at 0 and 10 and at negative 12 and 0. And if I can have 2 points on a line, that's all I really need to create a line. I need 2 points to create a line. And so that's what we've done here. So that's kind of where we're heading with this. Sub, if you could let them copy this down, that would be great. Thank you. All right, and then one more time, we're going to do an input-output table, finding the x and the y intercepts. So we'll start with a y-intercept where x is 0. So we're going to show 8 times 0 plus 7y equals 28. Well, 8 times 0 is nothing. And now I'm going to divide by 7. 28 divided by 7 is 4. So I have a 0 and 4 for my y-intercept. And then over here, I'm going to make y 0. So that means I'm going to have 8x is plus 7 times 0 equals 28. So this is 0. 7 times 0 is 0. So I'm left with 8x is equal to 28. I'm going to divide both of those sides by 8 of the equal sign. And then 28 divided by 8 is actually 3.5. So this ordered pair would be 3.5 and 0. So again, on a coordinate plane, it would look something like this, where I have 4 here, and I would have a point here at 0 and 4. Okay, and then over here, I would have something close to 4. It'd be actually 3.5, and remember, 3.5 is just going to be between 3 and 4. I would plot a point there, and then basically now what I'm allowed to do now is once I have 2 points, I can sketch a line through those, and that will give me the line of solutions for that x and y intercept for that particular equation. Sub, if you could give them a few minutes to go ahead and write all this down, that'd be great. Thank you. All right, so now we're going to use these x and y intercept concepts to graph a line now. So we're going to actually graph a line using a real graph. So using the x and y intercept. So let's find the points where we can graph this line. So we're going to start with a y-intercept, which means that x is going to start at 0. So that means that 6y is equal to 4 times 0 plus 12. Well, what that means is that 4 times 0 is 0. So 6y is going to be equal to 12. So now I'm just going to divide both sides by 6. And then 12 divided by 6 is 2. So I've got a point at 0 and 2. So there's an ordered pair at 0 and 2, which is right here. So I'm just going to sketch that point and then draw the ordered pair like that. And then I'm going to use the x-intercept and set y equal to 0. So here I've got 6 times 0 now is equal to 4x plus 12. Well, I need to solve this for x. So I know that this side is 0. So I need to get x all by itself. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to subtract this 12 from both sides to get x all by itself over here on the right. I've got negative 12 is equal to 4x. And now I'm going to divide by 4 to solve for x. So negative 12 divided by 4 is negative 3. So my ordered pair there is at -3, which is way over here, and 0. Okay, and then basically once I have the 2 points, I can then just sketch a line through those 2 points. And what that means is that every point on that line, including the x and the y intercept, would be a solution to this particular problem. This one's actually in what's called slope intercept form. You probably should write that down. Slope intercept form. It looks a lot like the problems where we've been deriving totals from an input x to a function of y, or the function of x, excuse me. Sub, if you could give them a minute to copy this down, that would be great. This was our check for understanding problem. All right, so Sub, if you could give them a couple of minutes, go ahead and summarize what they've learned today about x and y intercepts. That would be great. Give them a couple minutes. Thank you. Now we're moving on to the class activity. Sub, if you could just freeze the frame here and let students copy the problems down. Students, your job is to copy these down. In 3 through 6, you're going to find the x and the y intercepts. And then on number 10, you are looking for, you're given a function, and so you are supposed to graph that function, all right, using the x and y intercept concepts. All right, hopefully that helps for today. We will see you guys soon. I'll be out obviously today, and then I'll be out tomorrow. We'll talk to you guys on Friday. Have a good day.